What's up, you guys? Nice to see you. I know. First thing I want to address, what on earth happened? Yeah. So pertaining to my hair, for my humorous story, which I'm gonna share every week in my video or every session, I mean. Uh, Basically, I went for my haircut after 2 weeks of being in quarantine. I was very eager. I had to stay in my house for 2 weeks, by the way. It's a government mandated quarantine. So I got out, went to my favorite barber for the cheapest price, like $8, and I was like, hi, just cut my hair normally. And the barber's always very nice. She's like, how do you want to cut it? And I always say, not very short, probably like I was in the army. I mean, I never grew out of that. So she says, really? Then usually she cuts it fairly normally, and I'm like, yeah, sure. But I sit down, she just proceeds to shave like straight the middle of my head like this, and I'm just like, oh well, there's that. So yeah, that's what happened with my hair. You might be asking, what is this? What's this video? So I'm sure Mr. Hewitt would have said, but unfortunately, the timing of class would be 2:55 a.m. to 4:10 p.m. for me. So I would rather not do that. And this is just gonna be my video of class participation. I'm probably gonna be going over like a funny story if I have one, talking about the class readings, reading my reading response out loud, and maybe life updates. I'm pretty good. Singapore's nice. I can now walk outside my house. I can go for a run in the morning. It's very nice. Yeah, so let's get into my reading response. The prompt was on Elizabeth Bishop's Centerem, and here's my paragraph. Many people stream by shopping windows, creating an almost water-like flow of humans. Happy young teenage couples link arms and walk by designer stores, admiring what they could only dream of having. No social distancing. The bustling chatter of thousands of voices along Orchard Road becomes background noise, so that it never feels quiet. Architecture of Singapore's main shopping district is modern and chic, with sparkly buildings of ovular to polygonal shapes. Cars tunnel through roads that divide up the district, like ants moving along their daily routes. Of course, the breathing life of Singapore has come to a standstill to fight this pandemic. So yeah, I guess I was just trying to get the essence of the description down, trying to get that slice of life action, I suppose. Now we will move on to my response to the readings. So as for Centerem, the first one, it was the one that resonated with me the least, I would say. What the comments I do have are that it, like similar to the fish that Mr. Hewitt read for us before we all left, it has very vivid description of very standard menial things in life. And it has, very interesting descriptions of these arbitrary things, because she was just observing things around a church basically. So the problem is that it's kind of lost on me when I read it, because I have to Google it to understand what's going on. If not, I'm just lost. As for exchanging hats, I really enjoyed this poem. I found it really interesting that there were many layers to this. First of all, being that wearing hats is like when you put on a hat, it's like you're putting on a show of something, or you're wearing your classroom hat, wearing your party hat, right? But so that's a figurative phrase, but the poem literally made it literal, because the aunt and the uncle were wearing hats, which is interesting. So on that level it was literal. Then one level deeper it became metaphorical once again, because the hats represented a certain gender symbol. For example, being a sailor's hat being more male, or like a fedora being something else. So I found it really interesting how it went from literal to figurative to literal to figurative in a way. So it's very witty in that layering. I also found the image of the awkward uncle to be especially funny itself. Like reading the first stanza, I just thought, wow, this is so relatable. Like when you go to those family reunions, and like I guess maybe like your uncle's awkwardly trying a cab or something. It's something totally imaginable. So I found that very relatable, and I found myself smiling at that. Lastly, we have one art. This was probably my favorite of the three. I found it extremely smart and witty as well. I found that it had an upbeat, ironic tone almost, because it was upbeat because there was a lot of rhyming. There's a lot of rhyming of the words ending with like aster. So there was master and disaster multiple times, being the two ideas that I thought they were trying to like play up. And then other words such like fluster, and it was just interesting because keeping this rhyme going with every stanza, it felt like an upbeat kind of almost nursery rhymish poem, but when in actuality it's telling you how to deal with loss, which is actually a very serious topic. So I found the contrast between the subject matter and the way it sounds to be very interesting, much like the poems we studied in the past. And I thought it was very relatable content because it's talking about losing your keys, losing significant other, stuff like that. It was more relatable than Santorin for me. So that's my update. I hope everyone's doing very well. This is my first vlog ever in my life, so yeah. Take care.